Imagine taking zinc every single day, eating healthy, and still wondering why your hair keeps thinning. What if the problem isn't how much zinc you're getting, but how much your body is actually absorbing? That's what we're diving into today, because hair growth doesn't respond to labels or supplements alone. It responds to what your body can truly use.
I'm Dr. Eric Berg, and today I want to go beyond supplements and show you how to maximize zinc absorption from everyday foods, because this mineral is absolutely critical for hair follicles, scalp health, and the hair growth cycle itself.
Zinc plays a major role in cell division, protein synthesis, and immune function. Hair follicles are some of the fastest dividing cells in your body, so when zinc is low or poorly absorbed, hair is often one of the first places you'll notice it. Shedding increases, growth slows down, and hair becomes weaker and thinner. But here's the key point most people miss. Zinc deficiency is often not about intake, it's about absorption. Let's start with the best food sources of zinc, because not all zinc-rich foods are created equal. Animal-based foods are the most bioavailable. That means your body can absorb and use the zinc far more efficiently. Red meat, especially grass-fed beef and lamb, is one of the top sources. You don't need huge amounts, just regular, consistent intake. Oysters are the highest zinc food on the planet, and even 1 or 2 servings a week can dramatically support zinc status. Eggs, particularly the yolk, provide zinc along with sulfur and biotin, which work together for hair strength. Sardines and other small fish also contribute zinc plus omega-3s that support scalp circulation. Plant foods do contain zinc, but here's the catch. They also contain compounds called phytates. Phytates bind to zinc and block absorption. So even though foods like whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds may look zinc-rich on paper, your body may only absorb a fraction of what's listed. This is why many people eating a heavily plant-based or grain-heavy diet struggle with zinc-related hair issues. Now, this doesn't mean plant foods are bad, but how you prepare them makes a massive difference. Soaking, sprouting, and fermenting plant foods significantly reduce phytates. For example, soaking beans overnight, sprouting lentils, or choosing fermented foods like sourdough bread instead of regular bread can dramatically improve zinc absorption. Traditional food preparation wasn't random, it solved real nutritional problems. Another critical factor is stomach acid. Zinc absorption depends heavily on adequate stomach acid. If stomach acid is low, zinc passes through without being properly absorbed. This is very common in people under chronic stress, people over 40, and those who frequently use antacids or acid-suppressing medications. Low stomach acid doesn't just affect zinc, it affects iron, B12, protein digestion, and overall hair health. One simple way to support stomach acid naturally is to avoid excessive snacking. Constant eating keeps stomach acid suppressed. Another is consuming bitter foods like arugula, dandelion greens, or a small amount of apple cider vinegar before meals if tolerated. Chewing food thoroughly also signals the stomach to release acid, something most people rush past. Let's talk about zinc competitors, because this is another hidden issue. Certain minerals compete with zinc for absorption. High-dose iron supplements, excess calcium, and even copper can interfere with zinc uptake when taken at the same time. This is why timing matters. If you're consuming zinc-rich foods, don't pair them with large amounts of calcium like heavy dairy in the same meal. Spacing minerals out can make a noticeable difference for hair growth. Protein intake also matters more than most people realize. Zinc binds to amino acids during absorption. If protein intake is low, zinc utilization drops even if zinc intake looks adequate. This is one reason why hair loss is common in people eating very low protein diets. Hair is made of protein, and zinc activates many of the enzymes that build it. Gut health is another major piece of the puzzle. Inflammation in the gut, poor bile flow, or an imbalanced microbiome can reduce mineral absorption across the board. If digestion is off, hair often pays the price. Supporting gut health with whole foods, fermented foods, and avoiding excessive processed foods can indirectly improve zinc status and hair quality. Here's something important to understand. Hair loss linked to zinc deficiency doesn't usually happen overnight. It's slow, subtle, and often dismissed as genetics or aging. But when zinc absorption improves, many people notice less shedding first, then stronger regrowth over time. Hair cycles take months, not days. So instead of chasing supplements right away, start with food quality, food preparation, digestion, and mineral balance. Zinc works best when it's part of a system, not taken in isolation. If you found this helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone struggling with hair thinning. And comment below, are you focusing more on supplements or on food and absorption? I'll see you in the next video. Most people think hair loss starts with a lack of nutrients. So they add a supplement, maybe zinc, maybe biotin, and then they wait. Weeks go by, months go by, and the hair situation doesn't change. That's when frustration kicks in. But here's the truth that almost nobody talks about. Zinc for hair growth is rarely about how much you take. It's about how much your body can actually absorb and use. I'm Dr. Eric Berg, and this one misunderstanding is one of the biggest reasons people struggle with thinning hair, excessive shedding, and slow regrowth even when their diet looks perfect on paper. Zinc is essential for hair follicles. It's involved in DNA synthesis, cell division, protein building, and immune regulation. Hair follicles are some of the most metabolically active structures in your body. They divide fast, they repair constantly, and they are extremely sensitive to nutritional gaps. When zinc availability drops at the follicle level, hair growth slows, shedding increases, and the hair shaft becomes weaker. But here's the key point. Blood zinc levels can look normal, while hair follicles are still starving. This happens because absorption and utilization are completely different from intake. You can eat zinc-rich foods every day or take a supplement religiously, but if absorption is blocked, zinc never reaches the tissues that need it most. Hair is one of the first places to suffer because the body always prioritizes survival over appearance. Zinc will be diverted to immune function, wound healing, and enzyme activity long before it's used for hair growth. One of the biggest absorption blockers is phytates. These naturally occurring compounds are found in grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and many plant-based staples. Phytates bind to zinc in the digestive tract and prevent it from being absorbed. This means someone eating a high-grain or heavily plant-based diet may technically be consuming enough zinc, but only absorbing a small percentage of it. On paper, the diet looks nutrient-dense. In reality, zinc availability is low. This is why zinc deficiency is surprisingly common worldwide, even in people who eat regularly. And this is also why hair loss is so often misattributed to stress or genetics when nutrition is quietly playing a role underneath. Another major issue is stomach acid. Zinc absorption depends heavily on adequate stomach acid. Without enough acid, minerals like zinc pass through the digestive system without being fully broken down and absorbed. Low stomach acid is far more common than people realize. Chronic stress suppresses acid production. Aging reduces acid output. Frequent snacking blunts digestive signals. And acid-suppressing medications directly interfere with mineral absorption. When stomach acid is low, zinc doesn't stand a chance. Even the best zinc-rich foods won't be properly utilized. This creates a situation where someone keeps increasing zinc intake, but the underlying absorption problem remains unsolved. Protein intake also plays a huge role. Zinc binds to amino acids during absorption and transport. If protein intake is inadequate, zinc absorption efficiency drops. Hair is made primarily of keratin, a protein structure that requires zinc-dependent enzymes to form correctly. Low-protein diets don't just limit hair-building blocks, they also reduce the body's ability to use zinc effectively. This is why people on very low-calorie or low-protein diets often experience hair shedding months later. The body adapts to short-term restriction, but hair follicles quietly move into a resting phase when zinc availability drops at the cellular level. Another overlooked factor is mineral competition. Zinc doesn't work alone, and it doesn't absorb in isolation. Iron, calcium, and copper all compete with zinc for absorption pathways in the gut. When one mineral is excessively high, zinc uptake can suffer. This doesn't mean these minerals are bad, it means balance matters. For example, consuming large amounts of calcium at the same time as zinc-rich foods can reduce zinc absorption. High-dose iron supplementation can do the same. Over time, this imbalance can create a functional zinc deficiency even when intake appears adequate. Inflammation in the digestive tract further complicates things. Gut inflammation damages the intestinal lining where minerals are absorbed. Conditions like chronic bloating, irregular digestion, or food sensitivities reduce the efficiency of zinc uptake. When absorption drops, hair follicles feel the impact long before other tissues show obvious symptoms. This is why hair loss often accompanies digestive issues, even when people don't immediately connect the two. The gut is the gateway. If it's compromised, zinc availability drops system-wide. There's also the issue of zinc demand. Hair growth increases zinc requirements. Periods of stress, illness, rapid weight loss, pregnancy, or recovery from infection all increase zinc utilization. If intake and absorption don't keep up with demand, hair follicles are once again deprioritized. This explains delayed hair loss. Someone goes through a stressful event, illness, or dietary change, and 3 to 6 months later, hair shedding increases. That delay corresponds to the hair growth cycle, not the moment zinc intake dropped. Another important concept is tissue saturation. Hair follicles don't respond instantly to improved zinc status. Even when absorption improves, it takes time for zinc-dependent enzymes to normalize and for follicles to re-enter the growth phase. This is why consistency matters more than high doses. The goal is steady zinc availability over months, not spikes followed by gaps. Many people make the mistake of megadosing zinc without addressing absorption. This can backfire. Excess zinc can interfere with copper balance, which is also important for hair pigmentation and structure. The result is confusion, inconsistency, and disappointment. The smarter approach is to focus on making zinc easier to absorb rather than forcing more into the system. Improving digestion, balancing minerals, supporting protein intake, and choosing bioavailable food sources all work together to increase zinc delivery to hair follicles naturally. When zinc absorption improves, the first change most people notice isn't sudden regrowth, it's reduced shedding. Hair loss slows down, breakage decreases, the scalp environment improves. Only later does visible regrowth follow because hair cycles take time. This is why patience is critical. Hair health reflects what was happening nutritionally months ago, not last week. When people understand this, they stop chasing quick fixes and start building a foundation that actually works. So if you're dealing with thinning, hair, weak strands, or excessive shedding, don't just ask how much zinc you're getting. Ask how well your body is absorbing it. Because zinc for hair growth isn't about quantity, it's about access. And once your body can truly use zinc, hair growth has the support it needs to come back stronger, thicker, and more resilient over time. When it comes to zinc and hair growth, most people focus on labels, charts, and numbers. They look up which foods contain zinc, add them to their diet, and assume the job is done. But this is where things get misleading. Because zinc doesn't just exist on paper, it exists in food structures, and those structures determine how much zinc your body can actually absorb. This is why animal foods and proper food preparation make such a powerful difference in zinc bioavailability and, ultimately, hair health. I'm Dr. Eric Berg, and understanding this one principle can completely change how you approach nutrition for hair growth. Let's start with the idea of bioavailability. Bioavailability simply means how much of a nutrient is absorbed and used by the body. Two foods can contain the same amount of zinc, but your body may absorb 5 times more zinc from one than the other. This is the difference between progress and frustration when it comes to hair regrowth. Animal-based foods are the most bioavailable sources of zinc. Red meat, especially beef and lamb, provides zinc in a form that's easy for the body to absorb. The zinc is bound to proteins that the digestive system recognizes and breaks down efficiently. This allows zinc to be transported across the intestinal wall and delivered to tissues like hair follicles without much interference. Shellfish, particularly oysters, are the most concentrated zinc source in nature. Even small amounts provide significant zinc support. What makes shellfish especially powerful is not just the zinc content, but the absence of absorption blockers. There are no phytates in animal foods, which means zinc is not trapped or bound during digestion. Eggs are another important source. The yolk contains zinc along with sulfur-containing amino acids and biotin. These nutrients work together in hair structure and keratin formation. While eggs are not as zinc-dense as red meat or oysters, they are highly bioavailable and supportive when eaten regularly. Small fatty fish, like sardines and anchovies, also contribute zinc, while delivering omega-3 fatty acids that support scalp circulation and reduce inflammation. Hair follicles thrive in an environment with good blood flow and low inflammation, making these foods especially valuable. Now let's contrast this with plant-based zinc sources. Foods like whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and some vegetables do contain zinc. However, they also contain phytates. Phytates are natural compounds plants use for mineral storage. In the human digestive system, phytates bind tightly to zinc and form complexes that cannot be absorbed. The zinc simply passes through. This is why populations that rely heavily on grains and legumes often show signs of zinc deficiency, even when total zinc intake appears adequate. Hair thinning, slow wound healing, and reduced immune function are common signs. But here's the important part. This doesn't mean plant foods should be eliminated. It means they must be prepared correctly. Traditional cultures figured this out long before modern nutrition science existed. Soaking beans and grains overnight reduces phytate content. Sprouting seeds and legumes activates enzymes that break down phytates further. Fermentation, such as in sourdough bread, tempeh, or fermented lentils, dramatically increases mineral bioavailability. For example, sourdough bread provides significantly more absorbable zinc than conventional bread made with commercial yeast. The fermentation process breaks down phytates and frees up minerals. This is a perfect example of how food preparation can change the nutritional impact of the same ingredients. The same principle applies to nuts and seeds. Soaking them in water and then drying them reduces phytates and improves zinc absorption. These steps may seem small, but over time they can make a meaningful difference in zinc status and hair health. Another critical factor is protein pairing. Zinc absorption improves when zinc is consumed with protein. Animal foods naturally solve this problem because zinc and protein come together in the same package. With plant foods, protein quality and availability vary, which can further limit zinc utilization. This is why people who consume zinc-rich plant foods but low-quality protein often struggle with hair thinning. The body needs both the mineral and the amino acids to build hair efficiently. Fat also plays a supporting role. Many zinc-rich animal foods contain healthy fats that stimulate bile release. Bile improves the absorption of fat-soluble nutrients and supports overall digestion. While zinc itself is not fat-soluble, efficient digestion improves mineral uptake indirectly by supporting gut health and enzyme function. Now let's talk about consistency. Hair growth responds to regular intake of bioavailable zinc, not occasional spikes. Eating a zinc-rich animal food once every few weeks won't rebuild depleted zinc stores. Regular inclusion, several times per week, supports steady zinc delivery to hair follicles. This doesn't mean large portions. Even moderate amounts, consumed consistently, are enough when bioavailability is high. The body prefers steady signals, not extremes. Another overlooked factor is cooking method. Overcooking protein can reduce digestibility, making zinc harder to release during digestion. Gentle cooking methods preserve protein structure and improve mineral access. Slow cooking, light sautéing, and steaming are generally better than charring or overcooking. For people who don't consume animal foods, preparation becomes even more critical. Fermented legumes, sprouted grains, and soaked seeds should form the foundation. Without these steps, zinc absorption will remain limited, regardless of intake. There's also the issue of dietary diversity. Relying on one zinc source alone increases the risk of imbalance. Combining different bioavailable sources supports not just zinc, but the full range of nutrients needed for hair growth, including iron, B vitamins, and amino acids. When zinc bioavailability improves, the scalp environment often changes first. Oil balance normalizes, inflammation reduces, and the hair shaft becomes stronger. Over time, follicles receive enough zinc to support the growth phase of the hair cycle. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that more is better. In reality, better is better. Better absorption, better preparation, and better food choices create better results. So when it comes to zinc for hair, focus less on charts and more on how food is prepared and combined. Animal foods and properly prepared plant foods provide zinc in forms your body can actually use. And when zinc becomes available at the follicle level, hair growth finally has the support it needs to recover and thrive Most people think of zinc as something you either get or you don't, but that's not how the body works. Zinc doesn't just need to be present in food, it needs the right internal environment to be absorbed, transported, and used. And three of the biggest gatekeepers in that process are stomach acid, gut health, and mineral balance. If any one of these is off, zinc absorption drops, even if your diet looks perfect. And when zinc absorption drops, hair growth is one of the first things to suffer. I'm Dr. Eric Berg, and this is where many people completely miss the real cause of their hair thinning. Let's start with stomach acid because this is foundational. Zinc absorption depends heavily on adequate stomach acid. Stomach acid breaks down food, releases minerals from proteins, and prepares zinc for absorption in the small intestine. Without enough acid, zinc stays bound to food particles and passes through the digestive tract unused. Low stomach acid is far more common than most people realize. Chronic stress suppresses stomach acid production. Aging naturally reduces acid output. Constant snacking prevents the stomach from fully activating digestion. And acid-suppressing medications directly interfere with mineral absorption. Many people assume they have too much acid because they feel bloated or uncomfortable, but in many cases the opposite is true. When stomach acid is low, zinc absorption drops silently. There's no immediate alarm, but over time, tissues that rely on zinc, like hair follicles, start to show signs of deficiency. Hair shedding increases, growth slows, and the hair shaft weakens. Chewing food thoroughly is one of the simplest ways to support stomach acid. It sounds basic, but it matters. Chewing sends signals to the stomach to release acid and digestive enzymes. Eating too quickly short-circuits this process. Another factor is meal spacing. Constant grazing keeps digestion in a low-activity state. Full meals with breaks in between allow stomach acid to rise and do its job. Certain bitter foods also support digestive signaling. Bitter greens and similar foods stimulate digestive secretions naturally. This doesn't force the body, it supports what it's designed to do. Now, let's move into gut health. Because zinc absorption doesn't happen in a vacuum, the small intestine is where zinc enters the bloodstream, and the health of the intestinal lining determines how efficient that process is. Inflammation, irritation, or damage to the gut lining reduces mineral absorption across the board. People with chronic digestive issues often experience hair loss, even if they don't immediately connect the two. Bloating, irregular digestion, food sensitivities, or frequent discomfort are signs that absorption may be compromised. When the gut lining is inflamed, transport proteins that carry zinc into the bloodstream don't function optimally. The gut microbiome also plays a role. Beneficial bacteria help regulate inflammation, support digestion, and indirectly influence mineral absorption. An imbalanced microbiome can increase intestinal permeability and reduce nutrient uptake. Over time, this creates a functional deficiency, not because zinc is missing, but because it can't get where it needs to go. Gut inflammation also increases zinc demand. The immune system uses zinc heavily during inflammatory states. This means less zinc is available for hair follicles, even if absorption is moderate. The body always prioritizes defense and repair over hair growth. Supporting gut health through whole foods, fermented foods, and minimizing highly processed foods helps restore absorption capacity. This doesn't produce instant hair growth, but it creates the conditions hair follicles need to recover. Now let's talk about mineral balance, because zinc does not work alone. Minerals compete for absorption and transport. This is one of the most overlooked factors in ear-related zinc issues. Calcium, iron, copper, and zinc all share absorption pathways. When one mineral is excessively high, it can crowd out the others. For example, consuming very large amounts of calcium at the same time as zinc-rich foods can reduce zinc absorption. High-dose iron supplementation can do the same. This doesn't mean these minerals are bad, it means timing and balance matter. Copper is especially important to mention. Zinc and copper must stay in balance. Too little zinc can allow copper dominance, which affects hair structure and pigmentation. But too much zinc can suppress copper, which also impacts hair quality. Hair health depends on balance, not extremes. This is why megadosing zinc without understanding mineral relationships can backfire. The goal is efficient absorption at physiological levels, not forcing large amounts into a system that isn't prepared to handle them. Protein status ties into mineral balance as well. Zinc binds to amino acids for transport. If protein intake is inadequate, zinc transport efficiency drops. This affects not just hair growth but enzyme activity throughout the body. Hair follicles are especially sensitive because they rely on rapid protein synthesis. Stress adds another layer. Stress hormones increase zinc utilization and loss. During prolonged stress, zinc requirements go up. If absorption doesn't increase to match demand, hair follicles once again lose priority. This is why stress-related hair loss often appears months after the stressful event has passed. Hair cycles are slow. What you see today reflects what was happening internally 3 to 6 months ago. This delay causes confusion. People change their add supplements, and expect immediate results. But hair follicles need sustained zinc availability over time to shift back into the growth phase. When stomach acid improves, gut inflammation reduces, and mineral balance is restored, zinc finally reaches the follicle consistently. The first noticeable change is usually reduced shedding. Hair fall slows down, breakage decreases, the scalp environment improves. Only later does visible regrowth follow. This process requires patience. Hair growth is not a quick feedback system, it's a long-term indicator of internal balance. The biggest takeaway here is that zinc absorption is not just about food, it's about the internal terrain. You can eat the right foods and still struggle if digestion, gut health, or mineral balance is off. But when those systems are supported, zinc becomes available in the exact way hair follicles need. So if you're dealing with thinning hair, don't just ask what you're eating, ask how well you're digesting, how healthy your gut is, and whether your minerals are balanced. Because when those three factors are working together, zinc can finally do its job, and hair growth has a real chance to recover and strengthen over time.